I never thought a Craigslist ad could ruin my week. It started innocently enough. I was scrolling through listings for cheap furniture, hoping to find a secondhand dresser or maybe a decent desk. One ad caught my eye: solid wood dining table for sale, $150, pickup only, call or text to arrange. The pictures looked normal enough: scratches, a little wear, nothing unusual. The address was in a quiet suburban neighborhood I'd driven through before. I sent a quick text, asking if it was still available. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Yes, it's still here. You can come by anytime after 6. I agreed and set off after work. The drive was easy, the sun low in the sky. The house was at the end of a cul-de-sac. A modest beige ranch with neat hedges and a mailbox that said Thompson. I parked across the street, checked my phone again. No new messages, just the old, mundane text confirming the table was there. I stepped onto the porch and rang the doorbell. A man in his 40s opened the door. He was average looking: jeans, t-shirt, a baseball cap pulled low, friendly, ordinary. "Hey," he said, offering a hand. "You're here for the table?" "Yeah, thanks for letting me come by," I said. I smiled, trying not to feel the odd little knot of anxiety forming in my stomach. "No problem. It's right in the garage. Let me get the garage door open for you." We walked past a tidy living room. Nothing weird. Family photos on the wall, a TV mounted above the fireplace, a small dog asleep on a rug. It all screamed normal, suburban life. The garage was dim, smelled faintly of oil and old wood. The table was there, just as pictured. I ran my hands over it, checking for cracks. "Looks good," I said. He nodded. $150. I fished the cash from my wallet, trying not to glance around too much. Something about the garage made me uneasy. I couldn't put my finger on it. As I handed over the money, he smiled. "So, are you new to the neighborhood?" I hesitated. Just visiting, actually. I live a few miles away." "Ah," he said. Pause. "Well, you should stick around sometimes. People don't usually come around this late." I chuckled nervously, unsure how to respond. I picked up the table. He offered to help, but I insisted I could manage. As I walked to my car, I noticed he didn't follow me out. Odd, but maybe he just stayed behind to watch the garage. I put the table in the back seat, adjusted it so it wouldn't tip. When I got home, I felt a wave of relief. The table was in my apartment, and nothing seemed amiss. Still, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Something about his smile, the way he lingered in the garage, it didn't sit right. That night, I kept my door locked, double-checked the windows. I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining him standing outside my apartment, watching. Silly, I told myself. It's a normal Craigslist ad, a normal guy. Nothing more. The next day, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hope the table fits well. We're glad you came by." I froze. I didn't give him my number, only my email and the original Craigslist message. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity, or maybe fear, made me respond. "Thanks, it's fine." A few minutes later, "You left something behind." I frowned. "What?" I typed. "You dropped your keys in the garage. Come back to get them." My stomach sank. I didn't want to go back, not after the uneasy feeling I had yesterday. But my keys were expensive, with a fob for my car and apartment. I felt trapped. I told a friend I'd be stepping out, took my car, and drove back. The house looked the same. He opened the door before I could knock. "Oh good, you came back," he said, smiling in a way that no longer seemed ordinary. His eyes were too sharp, too attentive. He handed me a small set of keys. My hands shook. "Thanks," I said. "You're welcome," he said. Pause. Then he leaned in, lowering his voice. "You know, I noticed something yesterday. You're always careful, always checking around, looking over your shoulder. Most people don't. Most people just go." I felt my pulse spike. Yeah, well," he smiled again, the same smile but colder somehow. "It's funny, isn't it, how easy it is to watch someone and they never even know." Something in the tone, the casual confidence. It wasn't a joke. My stomach turned. I turned toward my car. "Take care," he said, "and remember, you're not as careful as you think." I got in my car, locked the doors, and didn't look back. I kept my headlights on full as I drove home. My keys felt heavy in my hand, but not because of the metal. I couldn't stop imagining him watching, maybe even following, though I didn't dare check. When I got home, I set the table in my kitchen. The scratches seemed deeper now, like marks of some memory I didn't want. I sat at it, feeling exposed, vulnerable. The ad, the friendly man, the normal-looking house. All of it had been a setup for something I still couldn't name, something I didn't want to name. Hours later, I noticed a new text from the same number. See you next time. I didn't respond. I turned my phone off, but I knew, somehow, that it wasn't over. And the worst part, I realized I had left the front door unlocked. I thought I was just picking up a cheap generator. That was all. The ad was simple. Portable generator for sale. Works perfectly. $200. Rural pickup, cash only. Text for details. I needed one for my cabin in the woods. My old generator had died, and the next storm was supposed to be bad. I texted, and within minutes a number replied, "Still available. Come by tonight. I'll leave the lights on." The address was vague. Just County Road 17 near the old barn. That sounded a little isolated, but I didn't think much of it. Rural living comes with isolation, right? I left at dusk, my truck climbing the winding dirt roads. The sky was gray, the air thick with that damp smell of fallen leaves and rain-soaked earth. When I arrived, there was no house in sight, just a rickety barn leaning to one side. A single light glowed inside. I stepped out and texted, "I'm here." A few minutes later, a man emerged. Middle-aged, wiry, wearing a hoodie and jeans, he had a friendly, ordinary face. "You here for the generator?" "Yes," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Great, it's inside, watch your step." I followed him into the barn. Inside there were tools scattered everywhere, the smell of old wood and metal filling the air. The generator sat in the corner, looking like it had just been dusted off. I handed him the cash. He smiled. "Good deal, huh?" "Yeah, thanks," I said, eyeing the exit. He tilted his head, watching me a little too intently. "So you're alone tonight?" I nodded. "Yeah, just came from the cabin." "Cabin, huh?" He leaned casually against a post, but his eyes stayed fixed on me. Must be nice, getting away from everyone. Something about the way he said it made me uneasy. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, it's peaceful." "Peaceful until someone shows up," he said softly. I froze. My stomach nodded. "I'll grab a flashlight for you," he said, stepping into the shadows of the barn. That was my first chance to really look around. There were hooks on the walls, chains and ropes tangled like they'd been used recently. My throat went dry. I'd thought rural people had quirky storage, but this felt wrong. He came back, holding a flashlight. "You'll need this to get back to your truck," he said. His smile was still casual, but it didn't reach his eyes. I nodded, forced a smile, and turned toward the door. That's when I heard it, a faint click behind me. A lock snapping. I froze. He stepped closer. "You know, I like company. Makes the night less boring." Panic hit me. "I should go," I said, my voice shaking. "Already gone?" he asked, mock surprise in his tone. That would be too easy. I bolted. Adrenaline slammed through me as I dove toward the door, but it was locked tight. My heart was racing. He followed calmly, not running, just walking with that sickening patience. "Relax," he said. "I won't hurt you too badly. Not yet." I ducked behind a stack of crates, trying to catch my breath. My mind was spinning. How had I been so stupid? Craigslist, rural pickup, dusk. Everything was normal, until it wasn't. I spotted a small window high on the barn wall. It wasn't far from me, maybe 6 feet up. If I could climb, maybe I could get out. He stopped, crouching near me. "Looking for an exit?" I nodded, too terrified to speak. He laughed softly, low and cruel. "Most people try to hide. Few actually think." I waited for a second, then ran toward the window. Using the crates, I climbed up, feeling the rough wood cut my palms. He grabbed at my ankle, but I kicked, breaking free, and scrambled through the window into the cold night air. I hit the ground hard and didn't look back. Branches whipped my face as I ran down the dirt path. My truck wasn't far, but I could hear him calling after me, his voice carrying in the still night. Calm, almost enjoying it. I jumped in, slammed the door, and turned the key. Nothing. My heart sank. I tried again. The engine roared to life, and I floored it down the narrow road, barely seeing in the dim light. Behind me, the barn disappeared into the trees. I didn't stop until I reached a main road, headlights cutting through the mist. When I got home, I locked every door and window, shaking uncontrollably. I called the sheriff in the morning, giving them the address. They checked the property, found nothing unusual. No sign of a generator for sale, no man. Just the barn, empty and quiet. I deleted the Craigslist ad from my history and swore I'd never respond to anything like it again. Even now, I can't shake the thought of his calm, patient voice, of the way he seemed to enjoy the chase. I know he's still out there, somewhere, waiting for the next person who thinks a rural Craigslist deal is safe. And I know, too late, that it's never really safe. I know how stupid it sounds now, meeting a stranger in an empty parking lot at night, but at the time, it felt harmless. The listing was for a small box of vintage toys, old Matchbox cars and action figures from the 80s, stuff my dad used to collect. The seller's profile seemed normal, local, polite, good spelling. He said he'd meet me around 9:15 after he got off work. The lot was in front of a grocery store, the kind that closes early, way out on the edge of town. I told myself it would be quick. He'd pop the trunk, I'd check the box, hand over cash, and leave. That was it. When I pulled in, the lot was empty except for one vehicle, a white van parked under a flickering light near the back. The store was dark, and the only sounds were the distant hum of the highway and the buzz of the lamp overhead. I parked a few spaces away, cut the engine, and texted, "Hey, I'm here." A minute later, 3 dots appeared, then a reply, "Yeah, I see you. I'm by the van." He hadn't mentioned a van before. I hesitated, gripping my keys, but it was a public place, technically, and I could leave any time. I stepped out, the night air colder than I expected. Gravel crunched under my shoes as I approached. The van looked old but clean. The sliding door was shut, and no one was visible inside. "Hey!" I called, trying to sound casual. A voice answered from the driver's side, deep but friendly enough. "Hey! You're here for the toy lot, right?" "Yeah." He walked around the front of the van, a tall man in a dark jacket and cap. His hands were in his pockets. "Got the box in the back. I'll help you load it." Load it? It was just a small box. That prickle of doubt came back, the one you feel when something's just off. But I ignored it. Maybe he meant he'd hand it over. He moved toward the van's sliding door. "It's right here. Let me just..." The door slid open with a metallic groan. Inside was darkness, the kind that eats light. I couldn't see much beyond the frame, just some shapes. Maybe crates, maybe not. "Go ahead, it's just inside," he said. I took one step forward, but then, movement, in the corner of my eye. Behind the passenger seat, a shift, a flicker of motion. Then another, on the far side. 2 shapes, crouched low, starting to move. Every hair on my arms stood up. "Actually," I said, forcing a laugh, "I think I left my wallet in the car. Give me a sec." He didn't move, didn't say a word, just watched. I stepped back slowly, my keys already in my hand. The van was silent. No one got out, but I could feel them, the others waiting. One more step back, then another. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. "Hey," the man said, tone changing, flat, cold. "Where you going?" That was it. I bolted. I sprinted across the lot, fumbling for the handle, yanked the car door open and slammed it shut. The key shook in my hand as I jammed it into the ignition. The headlights flared to life, cutting through the fog. And in that moment, I saw them. 2 men slipping from the side of the van, faces half hidden in shadow. They froze when the light hit. I didn't wait. Tires screeched as I threw the car in reverse, swung around, and tore toward the exit. In the mirror, the van didn't follow. It just sat there under that flickering light, door still open like a mouth. When I finally made it back to the main road, I pulled over and called the police. They said they'd send someone to check, asked me to describe the van. But when an officer called me later that night, he said the lot was empty. No van, no sign of anyone. I tried searching the ad again. Gone. Deleted. The account that posted it no longer existed. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd stepped closer. Just a few feet more. Maybe I'd have looked into that van and realized too late what I was seeing. Or maybe I wouldn't have seen anything at all before the door slammed shut. Now, whenever I drive past that part of town, I catch myself glancing at the lots, at the cars, sitting alone under buzzing lights. And I wonder, how many other people took that same risk and never got the chance to turn back?